reactions coming in. Now, R.S. Sharma, the former chairman and managing director of ONGC, joins us. Mr. Sharma, we have managed to access exclusive details of what Kirit Parekh has recommended. At one level, he's suggesting perhaps the more practical thing to do, which is hike diesel, LPG and kerosene prices instead of moving from export parity to trade parity or from trade parity to export parity. But in an election year, will these recommendations be taken seriously at all?
It should be. You see, this again, the issue of the credibility of the sovereign government itself. When this panel was constituted, so it has to be accepted that whatever be the recommendation, they should accept it. To the extent possible, I don't think that the total diesel prices, one quantum increase would be applicable at this point of time. But the philosophy should be accepted, and at least this becomes some document, some ground for the government to go ahead. Because they are the recommendations coming from the economist of high eminence. So it's not that any politician taking decision. So I feel this is they should now come out and give recommendation acceptance to the extent feasible.
Whether it's going to be accepted or not is a completely different story. But let me also bring in former Oil Secretary R.S. Pandey. Mr. Pandey, appreciate you joining us. Forget what he's recommending in terms of a price hike for LPG, kerosene and diesel. Let's talk about what he is recommending in terms of the revised contribution for ONGC and Oil India, of course, starting FY15, as Nantara was pointing out. For crude up to $80 per barrel, the contribution at 40% of price. For crude between $80 to $120 per barrel, 40% plus 0.25% for each $1 barrel per litre. For crude at 120 barrel per litre and above, a flat 50% on the total price. Do you believe that at least as far as the subsidy sharing mechanism is concerned, because what he's recommending comes into effect only from FY15, the government may perhaps want to look at this point in time?
Well, it's certainly welcome from the perspective of the oil producing companies. And I think they have been unduly taxed all these years because they also need to have money to invest in their further operations. But the real issue is, will Finance Ministry accept it at the present moment when the deficits have risen so much and they are also in difficulties? So the real issue is that as far as the whole report is very appropriate from the perspective of either oil marketing companies or oil producing companies, particularly GAIL, a very welcome recommendation that their contribution can't exceed the gross profit. But the real issue is, will Finance Ministry accept it? Will the consumers accept such a hike? These are the real issues, and always there has been the three concerns, one of the Finance Ministry, one of the oil marketing companies, oil producing companies, and one of the consumers. Always there has been an attempt to find some kind of a balance at that particular moment. Now today also he has stated the obvious, but will it really be accepted? That's the question.
Mr. Pandey, you're raising the right question. You've been in government, sir. Do you truly believe, and we've seen vehement opposition coming in from the Finance Ministry, the Finance Ministry truly believes that we should be moving towards export parity, which is not something that Kirit Parekh is recommending. The Finance Ministry had, some would say, conservatively budgeted for the subsidy sharing as far as the, or to give away in terms of subsidy to oil marketing companies. Are they really going to be in a position to accept the Kirit Parekh report at this point in time, or is this going to be another report on the energy sector which is going to fall by the wayside?
Well, as far as the pricing formula is concerned, I would tend to agree with what Kirit Parekh report has said. There is no need to go to export parity pricing because we import so much. How can you really go for change the formula? The trade parity pricing is the most appropriate under current conditions in India. And their Finance Ministry, if it is saying only for the sake of reducing the subsidy burden, I think there is no substance in what Finance Ministry is saying, apart from the fact that it will save them some money. So here I would agree with Kirit Parekh report that there is no need to change the status quo as far as the pricing formula is concerned. Kirit Parekh is also right in prescribing some kind of a graded subsidy depending on the price level on crude as far as the oil producing companies are concerned. Kirit Parekh is also right in saying that so much under recovery is not good for the health of the oil marketing company. but he should have given some insight into why 5 rupees hike, why not 10 rupees hike,
well,
why not 2 rupees hike.
I think he's capping. He's saying the subsidy should be capped at 6 rupees as far as diesel is concerned, and a 5 rupee hike to his mind perhaps seems more palatable at this point in time. So at least he said 2 rupees is not going to help anybody. If we need to do a hike, we might as well bite the bullet and do 5.
No, the point is you can bite the bullet, but the bullet is going to hit the consumer. You know the onion prices, you know the potato prices, you know all these prices. And therefore, that is not possible to increase in one shot 5 rupees a litre diesel pricing. That is, from the consumer perspective, it's not going to be acceptable.
Narendra Taneja joins us as well. Narendra Taneja, as we've been discussing here, recommendations that make sense for the energy sector, that make sense as far as oil marketing companies are concerned, but perhaps in an election year, absolutely unpalatable from a political point of view. So maybe the government is not going to want to do anything with the Kirit Parekh committee report.
You see, it depends on two factors now, two very important factors. Number one, what happens to international crude prices? If international crude prices, for instance, remain in the region of $100 per barrel to $115 per barrel, there is going to be no pressure on the government, so which means the government would stay in its cozy zone and they're not going to even look at the report carefully. Number two, what happens to rupee? If rupee, for instance, stays in the region of 60, against $1, I think the government would again sit in the comfort zone, won't even care to look at the report. This is election year. Unless there are big changes on these two fronts, the value of rupee and the price of crude oil. If crude oil prices touch $150, they will have no option but to increase the price of diesel, look at the reports very carefully and see what can be done. But and it looks like that the Middle East situation is under control, and it looks like probably the oil crude prices are going to stay in the region of $100 to $150. So the message is, elections on the horizon, country in the election mode already, report is fine, reports come and reports go. I don't really think this report is going to be any big difference. Very good document, but as I said, unless there is a big surprise in terms of oil prices, we are not going to see any kind of changes in terms of accepting or rejecting this committee report. It is a very good document, good reports, but at the same time I said, look, we have to wait for these unless there is a Tina factor, there is no alternative. They will look at the report. If situation, otherwise they will stay in their comfort zone.
Yeah, all right. That certainly does make sense, Narendra Taneja. R.S. Sharma, let me get final wrap-up comments from you. As Narendra Taneja and R.S. Pandey were pointing out, it seems extremely unlikely the government is going to be able to accept the Kirit Parekh recommendations at this point in time. So, do you believe it's going to be status quo as far as the subsidy sharing mechanism is concerned, at least till the tenure of this government? Mr. Sharma, can you hear me?
Yeah, is it for me? Say again, please.
Yes, sir. Go ahead. I was asking if you think that it's unlikely that this report is going to be accepted, or at least anything is going to happen with these recommendations. Do you believe it's going to be status quo then as far as the current subsidy sharing mechanism is concerned?
That will be very unfortunate, I would say that, because otherwise, what is the sanctity of making these committees and then the recommendations not getting accepted? The whole issue loses the entire sanctity. So what Mr. Taneja says, that seems to be a realistic situation, but that will be very unfortunate, I would say.
It may be unfortunate, but it may be reality. R.S. Sharma, R.S. Pandey, and of course Narendra Taneja. Appreciate you joining us here on the big breaking story on CNBC TV 18. We have exclusive details of the Kirit Parekh committee report. That report will be submitted to the government on the 30th.